So, when it comes to the word tensegrity, what we're referring to is how our body functions on a daily basis to move, right? And so we think of our entire body as a system. Our body is made up of connective tissue that connects our entire system from the ground all the way up through fascia, right? Fascia is a connective tissue that connects muscles, bones, and ligaments all together to coordinate movement. And the fascia responds simply to tension, right? So when we think about it, when it comes to, let's say, a squat, if I'm going to squat, the tension from the resistance of the squat will then respond by allowing my joints from my feet all the way to the top, allowing me to squat. And so we use tension in daily life, walking, moving, and in a physical sport where we rotate like golf, tension is definitely needed to be successful. And today we're going to talk about how we can use this term in order to load better in our backswing. And when I say load, I mean load energy, right? So instead of thinking of turn, we're going to think of load to then unload that energy later to hit the golf ball. And the analogy I want to use is with this simple hair tie, right? So as we know, this hair tie can create tension, right? So when I pull it apart, it creates tension. And then when I bring it back together, it loses its tension, right? This is how our body functions with fascia. And so when it comes to loading in our backswing, right, a lot of times amateurs make the mistake using this hair tie analogy. Let's say if the right side of this hair tie is my upper body and the left side is my lower body. What amateurs tend to do is they tend to take this hair tie and move everything all together, right? This way, right? And you can see how although both segments are moving, there is no actual tension within this hair tie, right? So then that doesn't actually create true coil. And so if we think of tension, right, in order to create it, we need one end of this hair tie to be stable as the other is mobile, right? That's how we create true tension. So when we think of this analogy and we think about the golf swing, what we need to learn is that we need stability in one segment in order to then be mobile in another. So a lot of times amateurs think that they don't have the physicality or the mobility to do something, when in actuality is they don't have the stability from the segment below to then incentivize mobility from the upper segment. And so if we think of this, right? So if I have this hair tie and I just try to turn it this way, right? Although there's turn in a negative direction, right? There's no tension. However, if I keep this left side, so let's say this is my lower body, and I pull it to be stable, and then now I use that stability to then coil here. Now we can see that true coil, right? So we have one end that's stable as we have the other end that's mobile, right? And then it works in the other direction. Now this needs to be stable, right? So this is the downswing where my upper body needs to be stable to then allow this to stretch more, and then it pulls it, right? So that's the concept of tension and how our body works, especially within the golf swing that is a rotary sport. And so now using this analogy, now I want to relate it using golf and how we can implement it within our golf swing with a couple drills to help us to learn how to create tension in our lower body to then incentivize that mobility in our upper body to load better in our. I hate to admit this, that I was once in your shoes where I was scrolling on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok on the latest golf tip to help me improve my golf game. Did that work for me? Maybe for about a few days or a week, but it never helped me improve long term. So what I learned and what you need to learn is that you need to know what your body can do physically and also what your most optimal golf swing is to help you improve your golf game. So how does that come into picture with me? Well, I will help you to understand your most optimal golf swing using both a TPI physical assessment to see what you can do physically, along with Sportsbox AI technology to help you to understand what your body is currently doing, and then also tracking the progress of specific parameters that we focus on to help you to improve your golf game. Ready to take action to improve your golf game on a long-term basis? Comment down below the word assess and let's get started. Now let's apply this to the actual golf swing. And in order for us to create tension or tensegrity within our golf swing, we have to start from the ground up. Because a lot of times amateurs make the mistake of just setting up normally, right? And then as they turn in their backswing, they feel like I want to turn everything, right? But as we can see, there is no stability in one area to create mobility in another. There's no true coil. And as well, we can see as well that there's no type of stability, especially within the feet, right? And that's what we're really going to focus on, because a lot of amateur golfers tend to think that excessive bending and twisting is actually true coil, right? But one test that I like to have is when it comes to actually loading in the golf swing, is if I don't create any tension, you can see how my projection of my voice is the same. Versus when I load like this, and I'm going to explain this drill later, now you can see how my voice, I can't project as much because I have tension within my body, right? So now we're going to break down how to create tension at setup to create that stability. So like that hair tie analogy, to then create a better coil in the backswing with the upper body. And especially for golfers, we need a stable lower body, but then a loose upper body, right? So that's that principle, is we're using that stable segment, that tension foundation, to then now create the coil up the top to bring the club in position. So first drill that we're going to do is the infamous towel drill, right? And the reason why I like this towel drill, and I want to thank Director of Instruction Jordan Hubbard for teaching me this, but it makes so much sense because we use this in daily life. And what it is I like to call is creating a tension line, as he explained to me. And so I have this towel here where there's like a little line within the towel. Sometimes you guys have these type of towels too. But what we're going to use this reference as is as our tension line. So now we can use the towel as feedback to help us to understand if we're creating enough tension. Because in order to create stability in the lower body, right? Although a lot of times we think of our hips and our pelvis is going to be dictated by how our feet are on the ground. Because within the golf swing, we have two connection points. We have the hands on the grip where we can put force, and then we have the feet on the ground where we can put force. Those are our only two connection points, and they're going to be the basis to which everything else functions. So what I want you to do in order to create this tension, I'm going to put this golf club down, and all I want you guys to work on is to get on the towel. And for my students, I'll tell them this, is I want them to get on the towel. I want you to invert your feet. So inversion of the feet is your big toes towards your midline, right? So towards my city logo. That is my midline. And I'm inverting my feet towards my midline this way. And then from there, using your two big toes, right? So our big toes are our foundations or our tripods to create stability, right? Because that gets us on the balls of our feet. Is I want you to, with the two big toes, I want you to invert your feet, and then I want you to spread the towel apart this way, right? And so you may not be able to see this here, but now that line on this towel that was a little wider has now narrowed because of the tension that I created within my feet. And so now, just like we talked about, the tension that I'm creating in my feet with my big toes on the ground is now transferred up already to my glutes, right? So my posterior chain is stabilized and loaded, right? So that's my tension. So now I have a reason to now respond to that and use that to be mobile in my upper body. If I came in a setup and I didn't create the tension, so I just came in like this and I tried to turn, there's no stability within the pelvis because I have no tension. and now my upper body responds in a different manner. So again, I want you to get into the towel, get right foot, left foot, or lead foot, trail foot, whichever order you want to go. But the key is as you go in here, I want you to emphasize these two big toes. And so my feet are inverted, and also where they're a little bit pronated. And then from here, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to be working towards supination of the feet, but my big toes are going to stay on the towel. That is the key. So now I'm here and I create that tension. And the reason why the tension is created within our feet and it goes up to our glutes is because there's a muscle here called our plantar fascia, and that is what activates our arch in the balls of our feet. And so now I feel like I'm ready to move, right? To use that tension to create elastic energy, right? And then that goes up the chain to my upper body, especially when I have the golf club in my hand. So I want you to make sure that you have this tension at setup, or what is called is lateral force. But I like tension because, again, we apply this on a daily life. If I wanted to squat, now I can squat, right? Where I can be safe and my joints are ready and prepared to move. So now, after applying that towel drill, now what we're going to do is use a drill to help you to now create that mobility. Now, since we have the stability and the tension in our feet, to then coil better within our backswing. So now, after learning the principle of how we can create tension within our feet using that towel drill, now we need to learn how our upper body and our upper segment needs to behave in order to respond correctly to the tension we create at the bottom. And again, the reason why this is so important is because a lot of amateurs make the mistake of getting their mass ahead of their pressure. And I want to break that down. The principle that we have within any movement, so let's say if I'm just walking, right, this way, is my pressure, which is going from right to left, so this would be lateral force, is going before my mass follows, right? So the thing is that a lot of amateurs, when they don't create that tension, is that they don't create the pressure within the ground, right? The lateral force that we need. And I like to think of that pressure or that tension that we create, or that lateral force, as the tripods in which we set up, right? So right here. So if I don't create the tension, then if I take my backswing, now I can't maintain that tripod that I had, right? And so now my upper body behaves differently. But instead, when we create that tension, now we're getting our pressure already activated before our mass even moves, right? Now, this lateral force is what keeps our mass moving in this direction. And as we apply a different direction, especially first laterally off the golf ball, is that we need to then use that tension that we have in the correct manner for our upper body, which is our mass, to be in the right position in relation to it. So let's say, again, this is my center of mass, my center of pressure, right? So they will be pretty much lined up or slightly behind, as we know we need a little bit of axis tilt. But then from here, the key thing, especially is when we don't create this tension, is that we do not want the mass to get ahead of our pressure, right? And the reason why that is because if you see, if my mass is on top, let's say, of my lead foot, then now it's hard to push using that tension that we have out of it. Versus, let's say, as an exaggeration, if I'm here, now I can now push, right? And that applies even in the other direction, right? When it comes to our downswing, we never want our mass to be in front of our pressure, our center of mass to be in front of our center of pressure. And so that's why this tension aspect is so important. So now, in order to get our mass in the right position, right, in relation to our lower body after we create the tension, is because a lot of times, a lot of amateurs tend to coil this way, right? And then I can feel already that I lose the tension because my mass is in front of my center of pressure. So this is a drill that I like to call the rock the baby drill, right? And I want you to take an alignment stick, and I want you to have it kind of your elbows to your sides. They don't need to be glued, but I want elbows to your sides, and I want you to bend the alignment stick just a little bit towards you, right? Towards the camera. So it'll bend like this, where my hands are almost going to be moving towards each other. So now I have it like this. No, actually, you're going to bend it this way. Here we go. You're going to bend it like this. So the bend in the alignment stick is actually going towards the camera, and my hands are going to be moving towards me, right? So just like this. And so now if you think about it, now we have our two tension points. We have tension within our feet, and now we have tension within our hands on the grip. And what I want you to do, as we have this tension, this drill is called the rock the baby drill, because what I want you to do is now using the tension from the feet, is I want you, if this alignment stick was a baby, is I want you to rock the baby to sleep, right? And if we rock the baby to sleep, we have to keep this stick on the same level, right? If I drop the baby, that's me tilting. That's not me truly coiling and my mass getting in front of my pressure. So instead, again, get that tension in the stick, and I want you to coil, but keep that stick level to the ground, right? Now, when we see here, now we see I've kept my tripods right here, and then now my center of pressure is now in front of my center of mass, right? And so now I can start my downswing effectively. So again, take this stick. I want you to bend it a little bit towards yourself this way. So we create that tension. We still have the tension within the big toes. And what we're doing is I want you to, just like you rocking the baby, is I want you to rock the baby to sleep here. And you're going to try to keep the tension within that stick as well. And I'm going to rock the baby to sleep. And you can see how I don't have any Ferris wheel or have the baby towards the floor because I don't want to drop it. So instead, it's this way. And as you can see, when we talk about tensegrity, is that I'm using the tension within the feet to then now incentivize my upper body to move. And so this is how we create flow, right? Here is it comes from tension within the feet. And then after that, then now you can see how mobile my upper body can be and how truly loaded I am, because now I have it where I've kept my tension on the towel and then I've rocking the baby to sleep. So now that's true coil here. And so from there, then I can start my downswing effectively to have the right transition. So a lot of times amateurs again make this mistake of correlating, of confusing coil versus turn. Rotation needs to be had by creating tension in one segment, so the lower segment, and then after, then that allowing mobility within the upper segment. And so I want you to use this drill, towel drill, along with the rock the baby drill. Again, making sure you keep the stick level here. And everybody will have a different type of point to where they cannot turn anymore. But the point is that we're getting the center of pressure and the center of mass in the correct position, where the center of mass is behind my center of pressure. And now if I had a golf club in my hand like this, now you can see how truly loaded I am to then kickstart my downswing. So I hope you found that video helpful, and hopefully that helps you to learn how to truly load in the backswing. And comment down below if you have any more questions or any more topics that you want me to go over. And I hope you have a wonderful day.